Yeah, we're definitely recording. Okay, so it's for my benefit as much as yours to watch it back and see where I can improve, but also for you if there's anything you want to revisit in it, and for anyone who couldn't make it today and would like a copy. Okay, so the yin to my yang, Kelly, is with me today.
Hi, everyone.
And she'll be keeping me on track and manning the chat. And God forbid if anything goes wrong with the tech, I'll be looking panic-stricken at her. And if you have any questions, can you leave them to the end and put them in the chat as we go along, just so that we can try and keep to time. Finally, feel free to engage in Spot the Elephant. How many elephants can you find in my presentation? I haven't got any fabulous prizes to give away, but I'm hoping that if my presentation skills don't cut the mustard, spotting the elephants keeps you hanging on in there till the end.
I think there's someone else in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. God. What's all going on?
Wait a minute. I've disappeared.
I can still see the presentation. Oh yeah. Sorry, everyone. We seem to be dropping out. Sorry, everyone. Bear with us.
All these technical issues, and it's me that's caused the problem. Okay. Okay.
Getting there. Okay. So if you've come to this session hoping I'm going to walk you through all the proposals of the ERB, then bad luck. There are already loads of employment lawyers doing that. But if you're anything like me, you've been watching and listening as the bill makes its way through Parliament, and you've seen commentators on both sides of the fence, those who are hailing it as a welcome reform and others who are giving it a health warning for business. And if you're in the dreading it camp, you'd be forgiven for hoping it would go away, but there's no more hiding from it now. So the objective of this webinar is to move you from dread to direction. This session's not called the Employment Rights Bill from Dread to Direction for nothing. So I'm just guessing, but maybe you're here because you know the first phase has to be implemented by April 2026. Information is coming at you from all angles. You haven't implemented anything so big before. You're doubting your capability. Can I do this? You're not sure where to start. And either way, you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. And if you've never had to implement anything like this before, it may feel like a real test. But you're not just wondering how you'll get it done. There are some things you might want to achieve beyond compliance. Maybe you want to do this for you and your development, and you want to do it well. Maybe you want to deliver impactful change that adds value. You know that learning from others will save you valuable time, and you need to scope this out so that you can hatch a plan. And as a final thought, you want to be able to confidently apply your learnings to future phases of the bill and to future projects. So my job and the reason you're all here today is to get you started. So we're going to go deep on the first phase of any project, discovery, getting clear on and capturing the what, when, why, how and who change impacts of the ERB. Once we understand the scope of the project, we can then prioritise. Have you heard the question, how do you eat an elephant? Well, let's put aside any literal thoughts about actually eating an elephant and let's imagine the bill is that elephant. And the best way to tackle it is with a plan that chunks it down. At the end of this session, I'm hoping you'll have more of a plan about how to tackle this project this side of Christmas so that you can start the real change work when you're rested and raring to go in the new year. So let's get you off the starting blocks and into action. So what do you need to get started? If you're going to be implementing this, I'd love to know what's stopping you from getting started, where are you stuck, and what are you hoping to get out today?
If you can put that in the chat, that would be great, and we can just have a quick chat about it.
I'm thinking that maybe you've made a start, but you're feeling like you've bitten off more than you can chew. Maybe you're here to sense check what everyone else is doing. And if that's you, it's a sound plan. We can pool our resources and collaborate. Or maybe the challenge is that there's no real appetite from your senior leaders for this, so no real support for you to get it done. And if that's the case, it makes your job harder. It's difficult to find purpose and job satisfaction in implementing the thing that no one wants. Is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a, so Chippo said a bit of a sense check, what everyone else is doing.
Well, you're in the right place because there's a fair few of us.
Yeah, and Deborah said about the day-to-day change programme, stuck as lots of information, overwhelmed, help with action, help with an action plan, where everyone else is and what they're doing. So, yeah, I mean, I know that Mary will be talking about this and going into a bit more detail. Most importantly, just a bit of reassurance as I implement it in the day-to-day. And the final one was, I've already started, but the lack of information on how it will look is making me nervous.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that by the end of the day, you will be a lot clearer in terms of some of the ideas to get you started. So I've already introduced Kelly, but I guess I should properly introduce myself at this point and explain what qualifies me to talk on this topic. So hi, I'm Mary from Work Around HR, and I've been where you are now. Way back in the 90s, when I was an employee relations specialist, I was tasked with writing my organisation's first ever policies and procedures guide. And whilst I had a good grounding in the employment and regulatory landscape, I didn't have a clue how to manage the project or where to start. And I wasn't really given a vision of what good looked like from senior leaders beyond compliant. Of course, I did it. I developed the entire guide, and yes, it was well written, structured, and it ticked every compliance box. But if I'm honest, it didn't really engage anyone. I was the one who did that. People learn more from me about my policies than the policies could communicate themselves. Why I cared about them, why they mattered, and how they made a difference. Since then, there have been quite a few legal and regulatory changes for the financial services sector I worked in, so I know a dry topic when I see one. But once you start developing policies and processes, they move into the continuous improvement cycle. And as my understanding of change management, communication, and the employee experience evolved, so did my policy messaging. Now, as an HR consultant and contractor, I've learned to love these projects, even if the changes aren't always an easy sell. But the one thing I've learned, if you don't see HR policy and process development as a value-added activity within your organisation, they're unlikely to get the investment they need to add much value. And what you get is a self-fulfilling prophecy, policies and processes that don't perform. I completely get that copying and pasting legislation or regulation into your policies ticks a compliance box, and it's quick and gets the job out of the way. But it won't reduce risk and increase compliance unless you move people to actually engage with them. and you won't get any job satisfaction or development from it. So the core of our turnaround work is on raising HR and wider organisational energy around anything HR policy and process development related in or out of a system, so that they do add value beyond compliance.
Well, I think this one will make you chuckle, Mary. Deborah also put, when government can't get their act together, how are we supposed to know what to do?
Yeah, it is a little bit lastminute.com, isn't it? Mm. Okay, so this quote is from Sinead O'Connor. If I don't identify emotionally with a song, I can't sing it. And it reflects how I feel about policies and processes. We have to know why collectively we care about them, why they matter. And it's the same when we create a change project. Delivering impactful change gives purpose to any project, and only then can we feel confident singing about it. Anything else, and it just feels like a thankless task. So for every cost, we can be looking to see if there's a benefit. And if we've got to invest in something we didn't actually ask for, then we might as well try and make a return on that investment. It's how HR shows we're here to add value. But let's remember, we're dealing with an elephant, so let's chunk it down and start small with discovery, the scoping part of any project. And who knows, there may be more webinars in me where we can look at reimagining the stories, finding the benefits and celebrating success. Okay, so here's the thing. Having walked in your shoes and supported so many in-house teams to deliver on their projects, there's often a recurring theme. Just look at the iceberg. Does this strike a chord? Senior leaders are generally macro, big picture types. The ask from them is generally quite simple. Implement the thing and make sure we're compliant. But they're not usually the micro doers, so they can underestimate how far reaching the thing is and how long it takes to deliver change on this scale. So it's on us to show them it's a change project and what we need to do it well. And that extends beyond discovery to include research, development, testing, implementation and evaluation, with employee engagement and communication across every sprint. So here's what I think could be the problem. I've already mentioned that senior leaders may have little appetite for the ERB, and if that's the case, they may not have a clear vision of what they want to achieve or given much thought to the impact of the proposals beyond cost or the fear of penalties for non-compliance. It's not meant as a criticism, it's more an observation. So you're off to a bad start. You may be trying to implement the thing no one really wants or has put aside a budget for. Maybe the problem is time or capability constraints. Maybe you're expected to get this done in addition to the business as usual aspects of your role, which is all very well, but it's you that's got to deliver something and there's a deadline. And you don't know what you don't know yet. To the business, you'll try to make it look seamless and simple, but without a vision, it's no wonder the focus of your time and energy is directed to making sure you tick the compliance box. It's hardly the stuff of dreams that will motivate you or your people though, and worse still, you know there's unlikely to be any recognition for your efforts. Let's also remember, this isn't business as usual. It's something that will occupy your time in phases into 2027. It's not one project, it's a programme. And without the right support and resources, you may have a gap. If in the absence of a vision, there is a gap, there's an opportunity for us to fill in the missing blanks, to show senior leaders what the project can achieve and the support you'll need to deliver on it. And to do that, you'll need to scope out the project, understand the impacts, consider the resources available to you in terms of time and capability, etc. Identify the priorities and any risks and issues, and come up with an approach and plan of action. And that's the focus of today's webinar. But let's not forget that while you may be responsible for implementation, senior leaders are actually accountable for the success of the project. And that's where there's the potential to go wrong, where the micro doer in us shares a lot of detail with the senior leaders we're looking to influence. I've personally collated a massive spreadsheet of ERB analysis and it's developing all the time, but no senior manager would have the time to get eyes over it. So it's on us to pick out the headlines and position our vision, the what we want to achieve, the mission, our approach, how we're proposing to get it done and the support we need to do it well, and the milestones, the when we'll do it. It may feel quite daunting at first, but this exposure to senior leaders makes you visible to some pretty influential people, so you want to be memorable for all the right reasons. So there's some of the gaps you may need to fill, but what about the gains? I'm hoping that in the process of discovery and scoping out an approach and action plan, you'll start to feel excited about this journey and you'll develop confidence in your ability to do it well. Because when executed well, it's purposeful work that will attract recognition from senior leaders. And all the while, you'll be developing new critical thinking and change management skills that are transferable to any future project. From being the HR villain, implementing the thing no one wants, to being recognised as the HR superhero that you are.
Aww.
So let's get into it, the what and when of the ERB. As I'm practising what I preach and chunking things down, you'll see I've broken the key strands of the bill into 14 petals on my colourful flower. The 6 purple petals, they represent the strands that are due to come into force in April 2026. The hybrid pink-purple petal, well, new trade union measures are expected to come in April and October 2026. The 6 pink petals, they're expected to come into force in October 2026, and the lone green petal is due to come into force in December 2026. And although they're not depicted here, there are, of course, 10 additional strands due to come into force in 2027. But that's too far down the line for me to be overwhelming you with here. So I want you to imagine this flower is a daisy, and instead of picking off petals and saying, he loves me not, I hope I'm not the only person here that did that as a kid. We need to pick off all the petals that you either don't need to worry about yet or ever. For a start, let's look at the 4 petals in the box with the blue dashes. If you're not involved in adult social care, you can lose the adult social care petal. And if you're not in hospitality, food and drink, you can ditch the tipping policies petal. The Seafarers Charter petal is for seafaring organisations operating at UK ports. And I'm going out on a limb and assuming there's no one here today representing seafarers. I really hope I'm right. And what about the pink procurement petal? This relates to TUPE provisions in connection with public procurements. So this is going to be relevant to you if you're outsourcing or likely to be taking on an outsourced public contract and transferring public sector employees across to your organisation. If that's not you, result, you can forget that petal. We're down from 14 to 10 strands already. And what about the hybrid pink-purple trade union measures petal? The April 2026 measures are relevant to unionised workplaces and organisations that know there are ambitions within the workforce for it to become unionised. If that's not you, you're off the hook until October. But bad luck, the October 2026 measures around issuing workers with a written statement of their right to join a trade union will apply to everyone. And if you look at the petals circled in red, you'll see that the government is still consulting or due to consult on these. So let these fall down your list of priorities. We don't even know if the current proposals will come in as is yet. That leaves 5 priority strands and 1 to watch that are expected to become law in April 2026 for you to focus your discovery efforts on before Christmas. It's sounding more doable all the time. Okay, I don't have time to go deep on the why step in discovery, but it's something I come back to in the development phase of any project, when we look at storytelling, sharing what we value, what we believe, and our collective why. But in discovery, it's helpful to join the dots and see if and how the new ERB strands align with existing messaging and sit within your vision, mission, values, culture, and thinking. If we focus on the 6 strands that come into force in April 2026, we've got paternity leave, SSP, the Fair Work Agency, parental leave, whistleblowing, and trade union measures if you are or are expecting to become unionised. You can see from the diagram that we can group the paternity, parental leave, and SSP strands of the ERB together, as they will need to be aligned with your strategy and messaging around time off and attendance management. These strands will affect all organisations irrespective of size, but the impacts are likely to be easier for larger organisations to absorb, especially if they already have enhanced schemes in place. You'll see I've associated whistleblowing with an organisation's messaging on conduct, the standards your organisation expects of itself and others. It's entirely possible that smaller organisations won't have any experience of whistleblowing or envision a need for a policy yet. But for larger organisations, think public and financial services, they'll have these mechanisms in place and will need to assess the impact of the proposals on existing systems and processes. If the trade union measures expected to come into force in April 2026 apply to you, they'll need to be aligned with your messaging around employee and industrial relations. If they're not relevant to you, you can breathe a sigh of relief and focus on other priorities. And finally, your readiness to engage with the Fair Work Agency will need to be aligned with your position and appetite towards risk and compliance. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's a new enforcement body that will be given powers to inspect workplaces, require employers to produce relevant documents and evidence to demonstrate compliance with employment law, issue and pursue underpayment notices for national minimum wage, statutory sick and holiday pay, bring tribunal claims on behalf of workers and offer legal advice and assistance, and they'll also be given extended enforcement powers for labour market criminal offences. Think immigration. Again, more mature organisations will already have strategies, policies and risk registers in place to monitor and manage compliance and new and emerging risks. The organisations who have the most to fear from the agency are those that don't have mature systems and controls set up to satisfy themselves that they're compliant. And as you do this work, you may identify gaps. You may find that you can't link these strands to any prior messaging around the organisation's vision, mission, culture and values. No one's done the work to understand why they matter yet, and that's where you can drive the change.
We have had a question in the chat box. I don't know whether you want to answer it now or cover it now. It was from Sian, and she said, I work in education in an independent school. We're not unionised, but a number of staff are in a union. Should we follow the trade union measures?
Hold that thought. We'll come back to that at the end, I think.
Yep, no
Happy
worries.
with that?
Yep.
Okay. So we've looked at the what, when and why, but there's the small matter of the how. How do I implement this? What do I need to consider? I'd suggest that before you can implement a change, you need to consider the change impacts. It helps to identify the scope and reach of the project. Legislative changes tend to impact people, policy positions, operating processes and systems, including HR information systems and reporting systems and controls. So looking at this diagram, take each strand of the ERB in turn. For example, paternity leave. Review the proposals. For example, the qualifying service moves to a day one right, and consider the impacts on your organisational infrastructure. I've done the thinking for you for 3 of the key April strands, and I've organised them into a template that I'll send you after the session. You can use and expand on the template as you work through each of the strands and proposals. And in doing so, you may find there are other systems and controls in your organisation that are impacted by this legislation. The last slide focused on the practical systems and controls that will need to be adapted to accommodate the requirements of the ERB. But this slide focuses on the emotional side of the change plan, the people who are likely to be impacted and will need to be included in your change, engagement and communication strategy. For this, we need to consider each strand of the ERB and the impact of proposals on people. We're using the RACI model here to understand who's got responsibilities for ensuring the bill is implemented in your organisation, who's got ultimate accountability, where does the buck stop, who needs to be consulted and who needs to be informed. And while it may make more sense to start with who's accountable first, we can't, because that would be rude and make the acronym RC. So using paternity leave as an example, dependent on the size of your organisation and HR or people function, you might be looking at senior leaders as they're ultimately accountable for the organisation's compliance with the law, the HR policy team, who may be responsible for your paternity leave and shared parental leave policies, an HR information system team, who may need to test new automated processes to make sure they work as intended. Then there's payroll, line managers, employees, and any third-party suppliers who might facilitate the statutory updates in your HR information systems. But when you come to some of the other ERB strands, you may find that different stakeholders are affected. For example, employee relations and case teams, and trade union members and workplace representatives. Again, I've done some thinking to get you started on 3 of the key April strands, and I'll send you the template after the session. By doing this discovery work up front, you'll build a better picture of the scope and reach of this project, how long each strand will take to develop, test, implement, and evaluate, and that includes communicating and embedding. You can use your discovery findings to inform your approach and back your recommendations to senior leaders. And if through discovery you've surfaced some risks, now's the time to raise them and ask for the support you need. Give senior leaders a plan that they can buy into, not ERB headaches, and my guess is that you'll go up in their estimations. But I should bookmark this webinar with a word of caution. Don't expect to execute your plan to perfection. None of us have implemented these changes before, so we'll need to be agile and prepared to adapt our approach. Let's face it, we don't know what we don't know yet. Right, so let's pull ourselves out of the weeds and take a helicopter look at what we've covered. I'm hoping you're beginning to see that successful change journeys aren't one-dimensional, they run deep. So looking at this diagram, you can see we're at the beginning of the journey. We're so close to the bill becoming an act. But to bake these legislative changes in across our organisations, we have to start by understanding how the changes impact on our organisation's vision, mission, values and behaviours. Do they fit in nicely, or do we need to put in the work to get them aligned? Then it's on to understanding the impact on our policies, processes and any supporting systems and controls. They too will need to be aligned with the requirements. And with a greater understanding of the organisational impacts, we can see who has accountabilities, responsibilities, who we need to consult and who we need to inform about the changes, and begin preparing targeted communications and L&D interventions to reinforce key messaging and learning about the changes. Before you know it, your organisation is living it and breathing it. It's baked into your organisational DNA and it's become the accepted norm. Business as usual. All you have to do now is keep it under review as part of your continuous improvement efforts. So there you have it. What we've essentially done in this session is to tune into our inner HR analyst, change and project manager. We've taken the big elephant in the room and begun chunking it down, identifying the priorities, assessing if and how we can align the changes with our current mission and values, and the ERB's impact on the organisation from the top down and bottom up. You can use this information to inform your change and communication plans that can help you engage and share the right level of information with the right people at the right time and in a format that's right for them going forward. The value in this for anyone new to implementing a large-scale legislative project like this is to build up your skills, capability and confidence, and to give you ideas for credible change and communication plans that you can adapt for later ERB implementation phases. So this really is the final word. We've covered the discovery step. We know how to scope this out, to prioritise, and we've identified our approach. I'll leave you to engage your senior leaders on this and begin conversations with the people you've identified in your RACI analysis. But I want to open your eyes to the phase of the project that I enjoy most and I think delivers the most value: development. We may have to accept that it's going to cost business $5 billion a year, and it may add significantly to employers' compliance duties. But we don't have to be driven by fear. Hundreds of pages of government guidance and commentary don't scare us. It's what we do with the information that matters, how we apply it in our organisations, with intention, by design. Our goal is to find a purpose beyond compliance, the opportunities. It's on us to find better stories to share and benefits to uncover, because who doesn't want to see a return on investment? Okay, I'm conscious of time, so let's wrap it up and get to the Q&A. I do hope this session has delivered on its objective to shift your thinking from dread to direction. When you registered for this webinar, I said we'd chunk the bill down into key strands, helping you understand the priorities and impacts for your organisation, the what, when, why, how and who to care about. I also said we'd go deeper to scope the strategic, people, policy, process and systems impact that will need to be re-engineered and will inform your change and communication plans. And lastly, I said we'd shake off legislative apathy. When done well, these projects can improve engagement within your organisation and really elevate your in-house credibility and reputation. When you operate from a place of dread, there's a risk of implementing something that serves to amplify organisational and legislative apathy and fear. But when we work through the what, when, why, how and who change impacts, we can get clear on the scope of this project and understand how long each strand will take us to develop, test, communicate, implement and evaluate. We also begin to surface our resource needs, budget requirements, priorities and any risks. And with a scope, we can agree an approach. And with an approach, we can come up with a plan and objectives to share with senior leaders that we can bake into our organisation to reflect our values, intentions, actions and the standards and expectations we hold ourselves to that go beyond ensuring we're compliant by design, not default. Who says HR can't influence culture and add strategic value? So in terms of next steps, the plan is to send you the recording and the example impact assessment slides for you to work through after the session. But I've put time aside in my calendar for 2 half-hour ERB action planning sessions between 11 and 12 every day for the next 2 weeks. So consider this your invitation to book in time with me if you'd like help tailoring the templates to reflect the ERB impacts within your own organisation, or you need some help creating customised plans and identifying priorities and approaches specific to your organisation size and the resources available to you. As you can see, an initial call to work through this together costs nothing, so feel free to book in using the link on the slide. So that's enough of me. It's over to you. Does anyone have any questions about the discovery steps I've worked through today? I should probably caveat this section with a note that my brain is a little bit fried now. So if I can't provide you with an answer in this exact moment, I'll message you with what will probably be a better response later. Or even better still, maybe we could open it up and see if we can ask and get answers to our questions together. Feel free to chip in, everyone. I think I might actually come back, is it to Sian, on the question of the specific education question?
Yeah,
that's
no
not
worries.
Probably something that I can think through in this moment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, so obviously, yeah, so Sian, we'll get Mary to, do you want me to reread it or are you gonna contact Sian separately?
Well, hopefully if I've got the recording, I can remind myself of what it is.
Yeah, that's fine. Becky said, thank you very much, Mary, really helpful, no questions from me. Janet's had to go, she had to drop out. Deborah said, it's been really useful, thank you. Suzanne, thanks Mary, need to drop off too, no questions at the moment.
I'm off the hook. Yay.
Yeah, so very much obviously Chippo was about the sense check, what everyone is doing, and a couple of people have commented and said, yeah, thank you, that's really helpful. I will, bear with me, and I'll just go back to the last slide and I will copy and paste the link and I'll post it in the chat for you all, so bear with me a moment. So that's for the Calendly link, and I'll put that, so that's now in the chat. If you want to book a session, go onto that link and book in that free session to have a chat through with Mary. And then I will, yeah, I mean, has anyone else got any other questions that they would like to ask at this point? I think everyone, yeah, there's no more questions at the moment.
I'm off the hook. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so thank you for attending my inaugural LinkedIn session and sharing your time with me today. If you've managed to stick with me to the very end, it's now time to find out how many elephants were hiding in my slides. Let us know by putting your answers in the chat.
Well, wait a second and see. Oh, Deborah's put 5. Oh, Chipo said 6. Have we got any more? Any more numbers? 5 or 6?
It's a lot to do to concentrate on a webinar and count elephants at the same time. So I'll let you off.
Yeah,
if you,
Sarah's
if
put
you've
6
got...
as well.
So the answer is 6, but I will also accept 5 because I was a little bit cheeky in there. 5 elephants were pictures of Elmer the elephant, my favourite elephant, but I threw in an extra word elephant for any eagle-eyed elephant spotters out there. So that's a wrap. Thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate you being here today.
Is there a prize for the 6? I just guessed.
Sorry.
No.
You get the benefit of seeing my happy smiley face. That's your prize.
Thank you.
If you are interested in a follow-up session focusing on the development sprint of this project, do let me know, and who knows, I might be persuaded to do another webinar. And in the spirit of personal development, if you have any feedback, constructive only, on my presentation skills or slides, that would be most welcome. So thank you everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you very much,
Kelly.
Thanks, Chippo. Bye for now.
Bye.